Story 1. At the time this happened, I was working as a sales supervisor in a large supermarket in the Netherlands. As a general rule, most young people in my country speak English. Some might not be entirely fluent, but most can make themselves understood. On this particular day, an American lady visited the store. I knew she was American because of the volume she was producing and, of course, what followed. She approached the register to pay for her purchases. I was standing at customer services with my colleague, where we had a clear view of all the registers. It was easy to see that she was not happy. She had a loud voice, was gesturing wildly, had flushed cheeks, and a throbbing vein. The classic Karen appearance. I was about to head over to assist the flustered-looking 16-year-old cashier she was yelling at when she stormed over to customer service in a huff. "Does anyone even speak English here?" she asked. "I do, ma'am. What can I help you with today?" "Yes, that brat at the till wouldn't give me a discount I am legally owed. I should sue her and the store." "I'm sorry to hear that. What discount are you referring to?" She slammed down what I assumed was a military ID, U.S. Military discount, of course. "Miss, this is the Netherlands, not the U.S. You are legally obligated to give me the discount. Seeing as U.S. law does not apply in the Netherlands, I'm afraid I don't. Would you still like to purchase these items?" "I want to speak to a manager." I pointed at my badge, which clearly stated, "On duty manager." "That would be me, ma'am." She then proceeded to curse at me, so the security guard, who had been quietly observing the interaction from a distance, approached her. "Ma'am, we categorically do not allow the verbal abuse of our staff. You can apologize, pay for your items, and leave, or we can call the police to sort this out," the guard warned her. She screamed more insults, accusing us of breaking the U.S. Constitution, among other things. Security, not in the mood for this, quietly put a hand on her shoulder and escorted her out of the building while calling the police. He kept her outside until the police arrived. As soon as they showed up, she turned pale and disappeared, never to be seen again. Story 2. I own 3 cats, all of which are indoor cats and don't go outside. I've had 2 of them since they were kittens and the other since he was about 7. One night, I received a text message from a random number. I didn't recognize it at the time, but later found out who it was through the conversation. At 11 p.m., I missed a call because I was sleeping. I ignored it, but the next day, they sent me a text message that led to this conversation. "Hey, you have a ginger cat, right?" "Yes, what can I do for you? And who are you?" "Hi. So, basically, your aunt told me you have a cat when I called her, as we are friends, and I was wondering if I can have it for my kid since you have 3. "No, you cannot. I've had him since he was a kitten, and I wouldn't give him away for anything. He's not for sale or to give away." "Yeah, but I have a kid who really wants your ginger cat. We saw a picture, and he looks really cute. Besides, you have 3, so you can give up 1, and my son really wants it. He loves cats." "Look, sorry, whoever you are, but as I already explained, it's a no. I love all of my cats, and it would break my heart, and his, if I gave him away." "Wow, you're so selfish. How can you get heartbroken when you have 3, and we have none? You're just being rude, and I'm a friend of your family, so it would be respectful if you gave 1 away. I don't know anyone else with a cat like yours." "Do you really think adding insults is going to convince me? Also, it's quite ironic that you're calling me selfish. I don't see my cats as property, and I don't even know you. In fact, no one could convince me to give away any of my cats. If I did, what would I gain? Nothing but sadness from losing one of my pets. Now, stop with the childish insults and don't contact me further about this." "Wow, forget you. You're a child abuser." "Now, my child will be emotionally scarred because he didn't get a cat. You deserve to be punished. You are not entitled to my pets. If you think I'm a child abuser, imagine if someone came to your house, asked to take your pet or even an expensive piece of property, saying, 'I have a child who really needs it.' By your logic, you would be a child abuser if you declined such an absurd request. Maybe teach your children, and yourself, not to be so entitled. I'm telling your aunt you were so rude to me and so selfish. I mean, you have 3 cats, and we have none. You'll see how sorry you are when she takes away all your cats and gives them to us as compensation, you witch. I'm 26. My aunt does not have any authority to take away my pets, nor would she agree with you. You should acknowledge that. Luckily, my friends aren't rude like you, so she will. Okay, sure. She did not contact my aunt after all, despite her threats. I told my aunt about it, and in response, she cut ties with her. Also, she wasn't even great friends with her to begin with, just someone she spoke to occasionally, and that was that. Story 3. Disclaimer: this happened before the COVID-19 pandemic. I have a mental disability, and when traveling, I wear a sunflower lanyard, recognized in British airports as a sign of hidden disabilities. It's optional, but I wear it so I don't have to explain that I might need help. Airport security usually has a fast lane for disabled people, young children, and others with specific needs. It's clearly signposted as a separate line for this purpose. The regular lines were pretty busy for a small British airport, but nothing too crazy, maybe a 15-minute wait. As I approached the fast lane, I noticed a woman staring me down. I thought, once she sees the staff member check my ticket for special assistance and let me through, she'll back off. Nope. My line was empty, and a few visibly disabled people were already at the security belt, so I got to the front immediately. The woman was complaining to her husband and the people behind her, saying things like, "Are you seeing this? Who does she think she is?" I ignored her because I also have anxiety and was trying not to freak out over potentially having to explain my disability to satisfy her. Airport assistants called me forward to help with my bag. As I was moving away, the woman reached out to grab my shirt and said, "Excuse me, some of us have been waiting a very long time in line." I told her I had special assistance and pointed out my lanyard. She then said, "Oh, it's okay, everyone. She has special assistance," to all the people around her, as if what she just did was completely justified otherwise, and as if anyone else in the line cared. I felt really embarrassed at the time and wished I had stood up for myself. The lack of sense is astounding, though. She saw 2 staff members actively helping me use that lane but decided she knew better about whether I deserved to cut in line. But people like her don't have much common sense, so there's no point in trying to make sense of it. They just want the world to revolve around them. Story 4. This happened almost 10 years ago, but when I was talking to my husband about past work experiences, I remembered this one and thought I'd share it. When I was younger, I worked as a waitress, and one of my first jobs was at a small family-owned Mexican restaurant. They prided themselves on authentic Mexican cuisine, and the food was actually amazing. I was one of the few people who could speak English, and my Spanish was good enough to communicate with the other waiters and kitchen staff, although I wouldn't say I was fluent. Because of this, whenever we had a table that only spoke English, they were usually given to me because it was simply easier for everyone. One day, we were busier than usual, and I already had a full section, so even if my colleagues had a little trouble communicating, they had to take some tables that would typically fall to me. When things started to calm down, a friend came up to me, begging me to take a table off his hands. He looked frazzled, so I said sure, and we just traded tables so we wouldn't lose any money. I walked up to the table, which had a man, a woman, and their 2 kids. "Hello, my name is Naim, and I'll be taking care of you for the rest of the evening. Have you had a chance to look over the menu?" I asked politely. "Oh, thank goodness, you speak English." It was too difficult to talk to that Mexican kid, the dad said, acting like it was our fault they walked into an obviously Mexican restaurant, not a chain one. I brushed it off, not wanting to make an issue out of it. "Listen, we need to see the vegetarian menu." He kept saying that you don't have one. He was rather haughty about it. "Sir, we don't have a vegetarian menu." "Nothing here is really vegetarian. I'm sorry," I said simply, and he looked at me, shocked. "What? You have to serve something vegetarian. My kids' school has to do this." "You should be like them, shouldn't you?" he asked, clearly displeased. "Schools are required to do that, but we are a privately owned restaurant and are under no obligation to cater to everyone's specific dietary choices and needs," I explained, thinking this guy must have never been to a restaurant in his life if he thought they were like a school cafeteria. "But what about this?" he shouted, pointing at our cheese enchilada plate. There's no meat in this, is there? We'll take 2 kids' portions and 2 adult portions with rice and beans, he said snootily. Sure thing, but I must tell you that these plates are not exactly vegetarian. We cook everything here in lard, fat from the abdomen of a pig that is rendered and clarified for use in cooking. Our tortillas are cooked in lard, and you'll also find it in the refried beans, I explained, not wanting to serve meat to a vegetarian. It just seemed wrong not to tell them this. What? Can't you just grab some vegetable oil and cook them that way? It can't take that long to make fresh tortillas in vegetable oil, he tried to reason. I'm not the cook, sir, but I can guarantee you they're not going to utilize an entire frying station and use up to a gallon of vegetable oil just to serve 4 customers. We would lose more money serving you by wasting all that oil. Besides, this is how he cooks. This is how this restaurant works. Even our tortilla chips are fried in lard. Basically, everything here has animal products in it, I said simply. There might have been 1 or 2 things not cooked in lard, maybe the sautéed veggies, but I doubted they would have been happy just sitting there eating that. Nothing was suitable as a main entree. He continued to huff and puff, demanded to see the manager, and threatened to call corporate this was a family-owned restaurant, so good luck with that before taking his kids and wife and leaving. All while screaming that he would never eat at this restaurant again. You never even ate here in the first place. P.S. I know most vegetarians and vegans do not behave this way, and I'm sure it can be frustrating when a restaurant can't serve you, but let's not take it out on the server. They have no control over how or what is cooked. Not bashing vegetarians at all in this post, though. Story 5. A bit of backstory. I used to work at the local Home Depot, which is an amazing place to work. They have good benefits, full health care, and unfortunately, I was only hired as a seasonal worker for 120 days. Anyway, I worked in the garden department, and one of my jobs was to water the many plants on the store grounds. If you've never seen it, most indoor plants are watered with a large pressurized drum filled with water that is kept in the back. This story takes place about 4 months or so after COVID restrictions were set as law in New York State, which is important. One of the things that happens a lot in retail jobs is dealing with difficult customers. This tends to get worse in a job like Home Depot, where you have a lot of contractors, generally decent, nice people, and the self-righteous types who think they know what they're talking about. This story is about one of those people. So, I was doing my job near the entrance, watering plants, humming to them, encouraging them to ask that cute guy out, etc. Wouldn't you know it, a guy without a mask walked up next to me and started looking at plants really close to where I was. I got upset because my mom, dad, and stepdad all have medical issues that make them susceptible to COVID, and store policy was to not serve anyone without a mask. Excuse me, do these succulents grow back every year? He asked. This question didn't even cross my mind at the time. Succulents are small, ornate plants usually used for decoration, and they're obviously not perennials because of their size. Sir, could you please put on a mask if you have one? He immediately shifted from decently normal to slumpy, aggressive, and angry. How dare you ask me that? What? I'll have you know that I am in no way required to wear a mask. But you were. And just saying you have a medical issue does not exempt you. It's fairly obvious when someone has serious lung complications. Sir, the state has made it a law that people need to wear a mask when in public. No, stop lying to me. Yes, it is the law. And there are signs at the entrances that say you need a mask to get service here. You are oppressing me, you idiot. I'll have you know I can fine you $75,000 for oppressing my freedom. What? By this time, I had caught the eye of another coworker, and they had left to call a manager, so I just had to wait. You are the worst kind of person, you imbecile. How dare you try and oppress me, you annoying witch. At this point, I knew I had become his temporary punching bag, so I decided to stand my ground. At this point, the manager arrived, and I blocked out everything else the man said so I could finish watering the plants. People are the strangest.